What if I told you that the weight you've been carrying, that sense of obligation, that nagging feeling that you should keep pushing forward even though it doesn't feel right, isn't a sign of commitment, but a reminder that it's time to let go? Think about it. We teach our children that it's okay to start over, to change their minds, to choose a different path. Yet here we are, holding on to situations, relationships, or decisions that stopped serving us years ago, simply because we've already invested so much time in being wrong. What if I told you that letting go doesn't mean failure? It means choosing to honor your journey and recognize your worth. Imagine the freedom that comes with acknowledging that it's okay to pivot, to redefine success on your own terms, and to pursue what truly brings you joy. Today, I want to encourage you to reflect on what you're holding on to and consider the possibilities that await you on the other side of letting go. Let's begin. Let me tell you a story about my friend Anna. You see, for 15 years, Anna tended to a beautiful rose bush that her mother-in-law had given her when she first got married. Every spring, without fail, she pruned it, fertilized it, protected it from frost, pouring her heart into this living symbol of family tradition. Yet year after year, the roses never quite bloomed right. They were small, sparse, and often diseased. Still, she kept at it, because that's what we do, isn't it? We persist. We try harder. We tell ourselves that maybe next season will be different. And you know what? I understand exactly why Anna kept trying. Maybe you do too. Because it wasn't just about the roses, it was about proving herself, about honoring tradition, about not wanting to disappoint her mother-in-law. Sound familiar? Dears, whether it's a recipe passed down through generations that never quite turns out right, a degree program that doesn't light your soul on fire, or a career path you chose to make your parents proud, we all have our own version of Anna's rose bush. For Anna, one day, something quite wonderful happened. Anna's neighbor, an elderly woman who'd been gardening for over 50 years, gently took her hand and said something so simple, yet so profound. "Sweetheart," she said, "your love and dedication are admirable, but this spot is too shady for roses. They need more sunlight to thrive." Sisters, right then Anna's 15 years of struggle made sense. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't about her not trying hard enough, or not being good enough. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, despite our purest intentions, despite years of work and dedication, we're simply in the wrong spot. And my dear sisters, that's not a failure, that's a revelation. Now, here's where Anna's story gets interesting, and where it might just help us see our own situations differently. Anna had two choices. She could keep investing time and energy into something that would never fully flourish, or she could accept this realized truth as permission to change. Do you know what she did, sisters? Anna took those roses out, ever so gently and cautiously, and she replanted them in a sunny spot by her kitchen window. And in that shady spot where the roses used to struggle, Anna planted and grew the most beautiful shade-loving hostas you've ever seen. Dears, within the same one season, both the roses and the hostas were thriving. The roses finally bloomed into their full glory, and the hostas created a lush, peaceful corner in Anna's garden. And as for her mother-in-law, she was overjoyed to see the roses finally blooming, as they were meant to. Sisters, can't you see? Sometimes what we think is giving up is actually growing up. Sometimes what we feel is a failure is in reality a redirection. And often, the very thing we fear will disappoint others actually earns their respect, because they see us being brave enough to make a change when something isn't working. So today, dear ones, I invite you to look at your own gardens and ask yourself these gentle questions. What are you tending that's planted in the wrong soil? What am I holding on to, simply because I've invested so much time in it? Where in my life am I exhausting myself, trying to make something work that just won't? What might flourish if I gave myself permission to replant it somewhere else? You see, sisters, just like Anna, you don't have to abandon your dreams or values. You might simply need to find better soil for your dreams to grow in. Maybe that business you've been struggling with needs a different approach. Perhaps that relationship needs healthier boundaries, or that career path might need a slight pivot to align with who you've become. Start small. Choose one thing, just one thing, that you've been forcing to grow in the shade. Then ask yourself, What would it look like to give this the sunlight it needs? What's the one small step I could take today to begin this change? Remember, dear sisters, you're not starting over, you're starting wiser. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to admit that what worked before isn't working now. What once fit us perfectly has become too small for who we're becoming. That's not defeat, that's courage. That's not giving up, that's leveling up. That's you, choosing to bloom where you're meant to be, not where you were planted. So today, my beautiful sisters, whether you're a mother questioning your career choices, a student wondering about your major, a businesswoman contemplating a new direction, or simply someone feeling stuck in familiar but uncomfortable patterns, I want you to know that your worth isn't measured by how long you can endure the shade. It's measured by how bravely you seek the light. Take that first step. It doesn't have to be big. Even Anna started by simply learning about shade-loving plants. Your first step might be a conversation, a small boundary that needs to be set, a moment of honest reflection, or simply giving yourself permission to imagine something different. And sisters, take this one truth with you, and that's, every woman who has ever bloomed had to first give herself permission to grow in a new direction. Every success story you admire started with someone saying, "This isn't working, and that's okay, I'll start again." Dears, you're not alone in this garden of life. We're all here, growing, learning, replanting, and blooming together. And know this for a truth, and that's, sometimes, the most beautiful gardens are the ones that didn't grow according to plan. Until next time.